the Meturgaman has this kind of a chush, as you call it, this sensing, the ability to sense something of the nature of the Seichel of the Rav, and that he can take, put it in his kelim, and then transmit it with the oisios to the people. Today is Chaf Aleph Tamuz. We are on page Kuf Lamed Zayin in the new edition, and in the old edition Kuf Gimel. We are on page Kuf Lamed Zayin in the bottom Ve'adua. First, in order to get into the conversation together with the Rebbe Rashab in Parshas Vayishlach, so we will go over the questions, the review questions that Ruchama prepared for us, Baruch Hashem. Number 1. What is the relationship between Pnimius Abba and Pnimius Atik, Ayin the Chochma and Ayin of Keser? You want to begin, Ruchama?
Yeah, or maybe someone else also can chip in so that we see how if the question is like...
We'll do for the next question. Or somebody wants to add.
So Ayin the Chochma is Ayin Abba, and Ayin of was the second one.
That's the mouth Chochma.
Yes, the mouth Chochma.
Okay.
And the one and the next one, what was it?
Is the Pnimius Abba, Pnimius Atik. The
Pnimius Abba is Chochma. And Pnimius Atik?
Pnimius Abba is Chochma?
No.
Abba is Chochma. The Pnimius of Chochma is higher. The mouth Chochma.
Right. The mouth Chochma is not Seichel.
No. It's much deeper. Abba and Atik are much deeper, more Pnimius, much more. Ungraspable almost. Right?
Yeah. So what about it? Ruchama, what about it?
The idea is, how do you grasp something, like I said, ungraspable? Where's the way to get into it, right? We started before about Ta'anuk. Murgash, Bilti Murgash, right? That was before. I didn't put it in.
Right.
But how are we going to get to grasp almost the infinite in the finite? Which part of it is, because we're going to talk about Keter, which is the Memuta in between. And really, it's only through the Chochma, right? The Hasaga Shel Chochma, and then really that we can get into it, but not in a direct way. I think it's very important.
Very good. The Ayin, the Pnimius of Keser.
Is the Pnimius in the Keser, no?
Excuse me, Sterne?
Pnimius Atik is Pnimius Keser. No?
Yes.
In Keser.
Yes. And that itself is not that, as Ruchama says, by itself is not accessible. Leis machashavat fisa beiklal. There is no consciousness that can grasp it.
Yes, until it goes in Pnimius Abba. There it's already different level, can sense it.
Yes. Now,
in a more
we see that in that part, which is coming next page, Ruchama, I would be more specific that the part you left out, and that is the Rebbe gives a little bit of explanation of page Kuf Lamed Vav, the top paragraph of how it happens. How it happens that through Pnimius Chochma you can reach Atik. And that is, so the Rebbe discussed the Yedias HaShlila.
Right, and also the mitzvot.
And the negative mitzvahs, right. So that's something that is, I would add a question about that, because to follow the text. But let's go back to your questions. So, number 2, what is Radla? What does it mean, Radla, with an Aleph at the end? And what's the relation to the above, to number 1? Yes, anybody? What's Radla?
Reisha, delay, Ityado.
Which means?
It's a place that we can never grasp or understand. It's much beyond.
Right.
Totally hidden.
So that's the Atik by itself.
Right.
That Pnimius Atik, not the way it comes through Pnimius Chochma. And it's called stimus mitzad atzmo, which means a hiddenness by default, which means it's not revealable. It's not. It was we discussed last time that there are two types of concealment. There is a concealment in which there is something that covers up over the source, and that's not stimus be'etzem or mitzad atzmo. That's not hiddenness mitzad atzmo of itself, because it is revealable, but there is something that's blocking its revelation. Then there is what the Rebbe calls on top of Kuf Lamed Vav stimus mitzad atzmo. That means that it itself, the source itself, is not knowable, not knowable, not revealable. It's not subjected to hiddenness and revelation. It's above both.
Hidden of all hidden, yeah.
Excuse me?
How would you put it as a question, like for the second part? I wasn't sure how you get details, because on one hand you want to give detail, but it wasn't sure if just this give pointer or...
On page Lamed Vav, just to add another question, because he explains here what happens when Pnimius Atik ba bivchinas chokhmah.
Right.
Comes through the principle of chokhmah. Then it is now present among the netzalim, among the worlds. There is now a possibility, as you mentioned, to access it through first being engaged in knowing, in getting to know, in the process of yediah v'asaga, in knowing and understanding. And here the Rebbe says how. It's not a direct, you yourself said it. It's not through direct kind of study understanding. It is yediah sashlila, which means reflecting on what it's not. That's one thing.
And the mitzvot, the lo taseh,
yes,
right?
And then the mitzvahs lo taseh that are also connected with that or and sof, which is higher than gilui v'asaga. And that through them we can actually, through lo taseh, we can actually access the ayn of chokhmah.
Because also from the first paragraph, one of the sin we forget is that it is only through chokhmah that we can get in, because that's the only part that's with the nitzalim, much more acceptable, accessible.
Yes.
And the other are more pnimiut and more hidden.
Yes.
Okay.
Next. Number 3. What is the role of the meturgeman? I'm missing here, mem here. Meturgeman in relation to the ma'atzil. You need to insert the aleph. Ma'atzil on one hand, and its relation to the ne'etzalim on the other hand. Examples. I would say that the meturgeman started on page Kuf. I'm just wanna, as we go to the questions, to kind of train ourselves how to to present the questions, following the text. So. In page Kuf Lamed Vav, the inyan of meturgeman begins 4 lines from the bottom. Before that, the Rebbe talks about the meaning of atik, of the word atik, which is copying. Ha'ataka mi sefer lesefer, like copying from book to book. I would put one question about that.
Okay. Before.
Because now we are beginning a discussion of what is a memutza. What is a memutza? Bechlal, the principle of the memutza? Yes, it will be through the meturgeman as you present. But before that,
give the of
to present the fact that atik is called atik because it's like copying the Ein Sof or Ein Sof.
Okay.
It's the way that God comes down. To become a memutza, as an emanator, and now the aspect of atik will be now the bridge between that emanator and the emanations, and that's through the process of atik, which is the copying the original.
So this will
And
give.
that's called the בחינה התחתונה שבמאציל. It's called the lowest aspect of the emanator. That's Atik. At the same time, Atik, as we see a few lines down from the beginning of that, in the middle of that paragraph, more or less, or a little bit above, the same time, Atik is also means ne'etak v'nivdal, detached and separate and above and beyond. And that is that this Atik is נעתק ונבדל לגמרי מה10 ספירוס דאצילוס. It's still completely detached and above and beyond the 10 spheros of Atzilus, the confinement to the 10 spheros of Atzilus.
So in a way you want in Atik that we show the two aspects, one how it's copying the infinite, and one that it's toward the Zul, toward down, it's really netak. It's not connected.
Exactly. Because the Ma'atzil itself, as the Rebbe calls it here, Atzmus HaMa'atzil, is not begeder memutza, cannot be a bridge. It's not bridgeable. And when it becomes Keser, then at least is a bridge. It's like kind of a mutz intermediary between the Ma'atzil and the Netzalim. And now we give the mashal over the Meturgeman. So to that part, I would designate one question to present the principle here, and then to give the mashal.
Okay.
Very good. Next. What is the role of the Meturgeman in relation to Ma'atzil and Netzalim? And maybe we can combine it with the last one. What are the specific qualities the Meturgeman needs to have to succeed in this task? Anyone else wants to share a little bit their perception on the Meturgeman as a mashal for the Memutza, for the intermediary?
Would you put here Keter or not when you say Turgeman? Would you put slash Keter?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Meturgeman is Keser, yes.
Put it so slash Keter, okay.
So can I say something? Nobody says? Okay. So the Meturgeman is getting the Seichel from the Ein Sof, the Ma'atzil. But he's getting the Ein Sof, but he doesn't get the Etzem Ha'inyan of the Ma'atzil because he gets it according to his own Kelim, his own Chushim and Seichel. So it's already different. Now he's capable to give it to the students or to the next because he couldn't handle it from the Ma'atzil, from Hashem himself. So now it's already another level. It's very, very close, but it's not the same. It doesn't have the Etzem. He has the Seichel according to his Kelim.
Can you explain that? What's the difference between the way he receives from the Mashpia, the way the Meturgeman receives from the master, and the way the people receive from the master? Is the Seichel of the master comparable, be'erech, to the Seichel of the Meturgeman?
No. Maybe. No. It's much higher. It's much higher than the Meturgeman. Of course, he doesn't get the whole thing, but he still has he has more. He has potential to receive it according to his chushim. It's like when you learn one Indian from another Indian. It's not the same Indian. It's like the Atik that you said. Even the copy is not the same that the original. It's already because the copy you said you already could relate to the copy. But the original we can't. It's the Leoda. It's something we cannot grasp. And the reason it goes to the next level in order we should be able to pass it or sense it on some level.
Very good.
And then the students, they receive from the Meturgeman according to his Kelim, his Chushim, his Seichel, because they were not capable to receive from the Rebbe, from the higher one. So that shows already it's not the same.
Right. Very good.
I may be wrong, but on the level of the Meturgeman and the level he's bringing far, like it's really very exalted, very like beyond, like 10 us. But he's much closer to the people he has to explain to in certain way. But compared to the others, like it really has to come down some very, very, very strongly. Is that what I'm saying? Like there's more sense of wonder and exalted
Yes, and as Turner says, the original, he can't, the seichel of the Rav itself, he can't get, but he can sense something of the seichel of the Rav.
But that
in a manner that Turner says, it's like to understand one inyan from another inyan. One idea from another, to extract one, to understand one idea from the first idea. They are not identical ideas, but one leads to the other. So in that sense, this is the manner that the Meturgaman senses something of the nature of the knowledge of the master, and that he can now wrap himself around, with his own mind, and put it in words and give it over to the recipients. To the people. Yes.
Hannah?
Yes,
yeah.
I am.
Hannah, are we trying to say that Atik is a Meturgaman?
No.
We are trying to say that a Meturgaman is a mashal for Atik.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
And I was going to say that, but Meturgaman Atik is also a type of an essence, not just the seichel part. That's why he needs a hush, like.
Excuse me?
And like almost also grasping an essence, not just copy. Do you know what I'm saying? To bring it down.
Who? The Meturgaman?
Also,
he doesn't get the essence. He does not get the essence.
No?
Both the people and the Meturgaman don't get the essence of the knowledge of the Rav.
Not even like the chush of it, that is something bigger.
We said, the sense of it, the sense of it, doesn't get all of it. It doesn't get all of it and then adjust it and put it in the scaling. No. It remains completely above him the way it is for the people. However, the Meturgaman has this kind of a chush, as you call it, this sensing, the ability to sense something of the nature of the seichel of the Rav, and that he can take, put it in his kelim, and then transmit it with the oisios to the people. Yeah. So it's like taking the one inyan from another inyan, or copying. It's not mamash the original. It's not. If you are a collector, it's not the original. It's not it, but it's a copy. So it's a bridge. At the end of this paragraph on page Kuf Lamed Zayin, the big paragraph, the Rebbe became more specific and said that, coming back to the nimshal of the mashal of Meturgaman, the mashal is for Keser, which is a memutza. The Keser, the sphere of crown, is a memutza. It's an intermediary between the emanator and the emanated, between Hashem, between Or and Sof and the worlds. And it includes Atik and Arich.
Yeah.
The Atik is completely Ne'etak v'Nivdal, completely remote, inaccessible, but from Atik are issued the lights of Arich.
That's right.
Which means they are not identical to the light of Atik, but it's issued from the light of Atik. And then from the specifically, so now the Rebbe is back just more specific here. And then from the lights of Arich, can be drawn into the Ne'etzalim. So, in other words, Ma shemeir b'Ne'etzalim is like B'chinas ha'oros de Arich levad. However, the Atzmus of Atik remains removed, like in the mashal of the Rav and the people. The Atik itself is completely remote. And also in Keser itself, the Rebbe says, Atzmus Atik is remote, and the Oros of Arich that are issued from Atzmus of Atik is like another light. Not like another idea from the first idea. And this is the memutza that shayach to oilamos, between the Ma'atzil and the Ne'etzalim. In other words, we learned here the principle of memutza, and we will see that there is a memutza everywhere. This is the principle of Memutza. Memutza is a big thing. I actually am maybe saying it will help me to materialize it. I really would like to expound on this subject in connection to Parshas Korach. The Korach was opposing the Inyan of Memutza. And there is a Memutza in time, there's a Memutza in space, and a Memutza in soul. The Memutza in time is Shabbos. Memutza in space is Beis HaMikdash. Memutza in soul is a Rebbe. There is Sulam Yaakov, Memutza. It's a big thing. So anyhow, I would like to Hashem to bless me with time and enough peace of mind to be able to collect and different Hasidic ideas about these inyanim.
Amen.
So now, should we continue?
Mm-hmm.
Ready? So then you can mute yourselves.
So if we can continue to dedicate to in his chus, I'd be so grateful. Tzivia bas Chava Mishka.
Absolutely. Yes, she should have a quick and complete recovery, and
Amen.
should be a Hasida Yiras Shamayim V'Lamdan, and she should be very cute and bring a lot of nachas to her entire
Amen.
family.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Amen.
Yes, sure. Sure. So now we're on page Kuf Lamed Zayin at the bottom, which is page Kuf Gimel in the old edition. Okay, let's move on. וידוע, it is known, דעל ידי אמצעיס הכסר, נעשה הסחברוס אור אינסוף עם נשמות ישראל. Now after the Rebbe presented the concept of Keser, so now the Rebbe says it's known that through Keser there is a connection between, that a connection is done between Or and Sof with Jewish souls. שהוא גם כן כעניין הממוצע. It is also operating as an intermediary. Ella, however, now we get to know how ממוצע, there are different kinds of bridges. Now, how Keser is a ממוצע, is an intermediary between Or and Sof and human souls is not the same as Keser, how Keser is a memutza, is an intermediary between Or and Sof and worlds. I'm repeating. The Rebbe now will explain that there is a place where Or and Sof connects with the infinite light of God, connects with human souls. It's Keser, the sphere of Keser, which is the memutza, the intermediary. However, the way Or and Sof is connecting with worlds is not the way Or and Sof is connecting with souls. Here the memutza is different. Ella, so the way Keser is a connector between Or and Sof and Jewish souls is a different kind of bridge than the way Keser connects between Or and Sof and worlds. Let's see how so. אלא שהוא באופן אחר מהנ"ל, which means the way Keser connects between Or and Sof and souls is different than the way Keser connects between Or and Sof and worlds. והעניין הוא, and now the Rebbe explains, כידוע בעניין הסחברוס העליון עם התחתון. Regarding the principle of the hischabrus, the connection between the higher and the lower, the upper and the lower, the upper world and the lower world, or the above and the below, heaven and earth, whatever you want to call it. It's done, it can happen שהוא על בי סופנים. It can happen in two ways. When the above connects with the below, and the below connects with the above. It can happen in those two ways. או שהעליון יורד למטה. Either the higher one comes down, או שהתחתון עולה למעלה. Or the lower one ascends upwards. אמנם, however, כאשר התחתון אינו יכול לעלות למעלה אל העליון. When it's not possible for the below to ascend so high to the above. Not possible. יש עוד אופן ג' When the below cannot ascend to the above, doesn't have the power to ascend so high, or to refine itself, or is not ready, not light enough that he can ascend, take off. יש עוד אופן ג' There is a third way through which the עליון can connect with the תחתון. והוא שהעליון יורד למטה עד מקום האמצעי שבין העליון לתחתון, and that is that the above descends to the below up to the middle way between the above and the below, והתחתון עולה למעלה עד מקום הנ"ל, and the below ascends upwards also all the way, halfway to in the distance between it and the עליון, and the upper one. And there in the middle they meet, ושם באמצע הם מתייחדים. And there in the middle they unify, they unite. ודוגמה לדבר, an example for it, an experience in the world, כמו ההפרש בין בחינת וירד הוויה אל הר סיני, על הר סיני, it's like the difference between what we have in a pasuk, וירד הוויה על הר סיני, הוויה descended on Mount Sinai in Parshas Yisro, שהיה גילוי, now on page קל"ח on top, שהיה גילוי אור אין סוף ממש למטה. That גילוי אור אין סוף ממש, the infinite was ממש revealed below. That's what happened by Mount Sinai. The עליון descended to the תחתון. The above descended to the below. In the future, between this is how it was then. What will be in the future, לעתיד? שיהיה עליית התחתון למעלה. In the future, in the גאולה, in the future to come, we are in the future now. We are in the beginning of the future. The עליון ascends למעלה. The תחתון, the below, ascends, is going upward. למעלה, upwards, to the עליון. וכידוע, is known, דלעתיד יזדכך המטה ויהיה במקום המעלה כולו. That in the future, the below, the world will be so refined that it will be in the place of the higher reality. It will take on the higher reality because it will be refined enough to ascend itself, its entire self, to the higher reality. As it says in the Sidur Sof Dibur HaMaskil Adonai Sfasai Tiftach Tfilas Rosh Hashanah. So we have Mount Sinai, the Elyon came down to the Tachton. In the future to come, the Tachton ascends to the Elyon. ואופן הגימל, and the third way, הוא כמו ומוישה עלה אל האלוקים. Is like, it says that Moshe ascended. Moshe was an exception here. Moshe ascended el Elokim. You see, you notice that the pasuk from Yisro says Vayered Havaye על הר סיני, Havaya descended to Har Sinai, and then Moshe עלה אל האלוקים. Moshe ascended to the Elokim. It doesn't say ascended to Havaya. But it's the third way. It's meeting in the middle. שהיה בהר מם יום, Moshe stayed on the mount for 40 days, לחם לא אכל, אפילו לחם דמן חולו. He didn't eat any food, any bread, even not the man, the heavenly bread. ושם נסייחד עמו הדיבור. And there the divine speech became one with him. והטעם לזה, the reason for this, that Moshe Rabbeinu was on a different level. לפי שהסגס מוישה בהר היה גבוה מאוד, because the level of understanding and consciousness of Moshe Rabbeinu when he was on Mount Sinai was very, very exalted. על כן, על ידי ירידה לבד, הנמשך מלמעלה למטה, לא היה יכול להיות בחינה זו. Therefore, since the Elyon, now the Rebbe will continue to develop this idea. What is the Rebbe saying here? To have such a chabrus, such a connection that happened between God and Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, when he ascended the mount, was only possible because it was in the power of Moshe Rabbeinu to refine himself until he was able to go up El Elokim. And he was on the level of existence and consciousness that he didn't eat any food. He was nurtured from ruchnius, from spirituality, not even the man. That was a unique connection between the Elyon and the Tachten. Why? The Rebbe will explain now. Usually, the Rebbe doesn't say he usually, but usually, they learned with parentheses. ירידת העליון למטה הוא בבית אופנים. How can the above come down? And when we say the above come down, the below is not comparable to the above. We're talking about a huge difference between the above and the below. How can the above come down to the below? It can be in two manners, the Rebbe says. או שההמשכה היא להיות בבחינס גילוי ממש אל התחתון בבחינס פנימיוס. The yerida of the Elyon and the Tachton, the communication, the connection, so to speak, between the Elyon and the Tachton, the above and the below, can be done only in this sense in two ways. Either this hamshacha from the above to the below will be in a manner of gilui, will be revealed to the below, and will be taken in and perceived, taken bepnimius by the below, can be grasped. But then, what type of המשכה will it be from the above? ואז המשכה היא בחינת שערה לבד. Then, the המשכה is not the source itself. Then the המשכה is only a radiance from the source, not the original. There are two manners. Yes, it's how, but it's not a question. There are two ways. There are two only, so to speak, possible ways. The way that an Elyon can give hashpah, can relate to a Tachton which is infinitely or incomparably lower. Either the hashpah of the Elyon is bepnimius, which means, what it means bepnimius? Give me another one word for bepnimius. Gilui. Either it comes bepnimium, means begilui, it's graspable, perceived. But if it comes, if the Elyon, that is incomparable, comes to the Tachton in a manner of gilui, then it's not the original Elyon. It's only a ray from the Elyon, a radiance. The whole Elyon cannot be perceived by the Tachton the way the Tachton is. Right?
It'd be like Like the Z.
Or the Elyon can give completely itself, the way it is, not a ray of it, not a radiance of it, not a glimmer of it. It can give it whole self, but in that case it will not be Bepnimius, because the Tachton, the below, doesn't have the vessels to contain it and to perceive it, and therefore it will remain what?
Hidden.
Hidden. These are the only two possibilities that the Elyon can relate to a Tachton which is incomparable to the Elyon. Clear?
1 second. These two possibilities are both not happening now, because
Sterne.
Elyon
Have Kabbalah's all. Have Bittul. Please, mental Bittul here. The Rebbe is presenting an idea here. Don't start to contradicting. He's immediately trying to explain to you something. So suspend all your mind comments about it and how to make it Geula right now. Wait.
No, but I'm sorry, but this is the idea. You said two ways that cannot happen. That's why we need the third way.
Okay.
You need to come in the middle.
So wait, don't jump. Don't jump, wait. Let's see. The Rebbe is explaining to it now more in details.
Okay.
Why is it so?
1 minute, could we just go back a minute? If it gives Begiloi, if it gives from the Pneumius, if the Hashpa is through Pneumius, then what? There's no Kalim. Is there Kalim for Pneumius? No.
Stop. You are trying hard to understand, and it's not hard. So let's say it in our words. You have A and B, right? A is the Elyon, B is the Tachton. B is incomparably lower than A. Infinite. So now A has to give Ashpa to B. So it depends. If this Ashpa is Ashpa Pnimis, if you want this Ashpa, if A wants this Ashpa to come to B in a manner of Pnimius, meaning that it can be contained by the Kalim of B, and B can perceive and grasp and get it, the A, then A cannot give all of itself, because B has no Kalim for it, it's incomparable lower. So A can only send a ray, only a radiance of itself, as much as can fit into B's perception. But it will not be the original A. So be a ray of some kind of expression from A. Or A wants to give all of itself, or itself, not its light, not its expression, not anything, just its original self. Then it cannot be coming Bepnimius to B, because B doesn't have the Kalim for that. B is incomparably lower. And therefore, when that happens, when A gives itself over to B, B cannot perceive it. So A can affect B, but it's superconscious. It's not Begilui.
When you say superconscious, not Begiloi, it's what, the Helem?
Yeah?
Helem?
Yeah. That's what Makif is.
Makif. It's Makif.
It's not Bepnimius. It's Makif. It affects, but it's not revealed. The Elyon can choose how he wants to relate, whatever. They can both choose. But Sterne says, well, that's not the ultimate situation here. So let's read again the parentheses. The Yeridas ha'elyon lemata ubebeit ofanim. The descent of the above to the below is in two ways when we're talking about incomparable distance between the two. או שההמשכה היא להיות בבחינת גילוי ממש של התחתון בבחינת פנימיוס. Either the המשכה from A to B is to be ממש revealed to the below and taken in. And then in this case, אז ההמשכה היא בבחינת הערה לבד. In this case, the המשכה will be only הערה, only the light from the source, only a reflection of the source. וכאשר נמשך, and when נמשך בחינת העצמוס, which means the Elyon itself, the above one itself, not a ray of it, but it itself, or the way it is originally, is drawn down to the tachton, אז אין זה בבחינת גילוי אלא מקבל. Then it's not, cannot be in a manner of גילוי to the recipient, בבחינת פנימיוס, in a matter of being able to take it in, כי אין המקבל כלי על זה. Because in this case, the recipient is not a vessel for it. ולזוס, and therefore, cries out Sterne and says, wait, what there is a third way? There is the way, but that what happened between Moshe and Hashem. ולזוז, בחינת המשכה זו אל מוישה, this המשכה, between Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu, enabled something else. But in this case, the tachton is not the same like the first case. In this case, we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. In this case, the hamshacha to Moshe was lios gilui bchinas hatoira. The hamshacha between A and B, in this case A is God and Moshe is B, is a different kind of hamshacha. It's a Torah kind of hamshacha. What does it mean, a Torah kind of hamshacha? שזהו המשחס העצמוס ובבחינס פנימיוס. Now Sterne can relax. Which is המשחס העצמוס, not a ray, not a radiance. Atmos itself, the original, is brought down to be, but not makif, not superconscious, not concealed and hidden, בפנימיוס, meaning revealed. This לא היה אפשר להיות על ידי ירידת העליון למטה. This was not possible only through the descent of the alien to the below. This kind of ashpah. Because if it's only the upper one descend to the lower one, then it has to be, if the lower one wants to perceive it, it's only a ray. But in the case of Moshe Rabbeinu, since Moshe Rabbeinu was the tachton, the way tachton is refined, the lower, the below is refined, and therefore can meet, so to speak, the divine halfway. In this case, it enables completely different ashpah, meaning you get the entire godliness, but in a manner of pnimius.
Hannah, is that the student rather than the Torgeman? That's what you're right now explaining?
Okay, maybe after for the years, but let's wait. Now, שזהו המשחס העצמוס, but בפנימיוס. It's המשחס העצמוס, not הערה from עצמוס, not a ray from עצמוס, but עצמוס itself, and בפנימיוס.
The Torah, right?
This לא היה אפשר להיות על ידי ירידת העליון למטה חולו. This was not, if not for the Torah, for this kind of המשכה, type of Torah המשכה, and we'll see how. The Rebbe is explaining, hold your horses. Is not possible through just the ירידת העליון למטה. No, there has to be both. עליית התחתון and ירידת העליון. וגם, and also it wouldn't be possible not through the ירידת העליון למטה only, and not, וגם על ידי עלייה לבד, מוישה לא יכול לעלות כל כך. And also it wouldn't be possible only through the ascending of Moshe. If it were only the ascending of Moshe, he would not be able to ascend to the original, to what Atmos is. So you had to have both. Atmos has to come down, and Moshe Rabbeinu had to come up. אלא לאחר שעלה ונסדחך בכל מה שאפשר לפי בחינת מוישה, ונחנו מה? However, after Moshe Rabbeinu was elevated and refined and purified and became transparent and clear, as much as the level of Moshe can enable, to the utmost of Moshe Rabbeinu what he could be, which is benachnu ma. We are what? Which means Moshe Rabbeinu achieved the epitome of selflessness, of freedom from ego. That he was completely a conduit for godliness. וגם מלמעלה למטה נמשך האור בבחינת ירידה. And also, just as Moshe Rabbeinu ascended and ascended and ascended and purified and cleared himself, represented by him ascending on the Mount Sinai, גם מלמעלה also, from up, down, there was a similar kind of behavior. נמשך האור בבחינת ירידה. The divine light was drawn down in a manner of coming down. Godliness came down to הר סיני. אז יוכל להתחבר בייס הבחינות. Then you can connect both. On one hand, it's Atmos, not light. And on the other hand, it's בפנימיוס and בגילוי, and not makif and hidden. והיינו, דאז מאיר העליון בבחינת פנימיוס חולו. Then the above, the way it originally is, authentically is, can shine in a revealed way, in pnimius. It means can be taken in, perceived by the below. וכמו כן הוא בכללוס נשמות ישראל. And so too, in all souls, יש גם כן שמקום החיבור באמצע. There is also a place which is in the middle between the Jewish souls and God. וכמו שכתוב, as it says in ניצבים, לעוברך בבריס הוויה אלוקיך חולו. When you passed through the covenant of Havaya your God, ולהיוס לך לאלוקים, and to be to you אלוקים. The perush לעוברך בבריס חולו. So it says two things here in Parshas Nitzavim. Parshas Nitzavim describes a connection and a bond between the Jewish people and God. And this bond is expressed in this pasuk in two parts. לעוברך בבריס הוויה אלוקיך. In terms of the Jewish people, לעוברך בבריס הוויה אלוקיך. פירוש לעוברך בבריס, you went through a bris. Each and every person went through a bris. לעוברך לעבור means to pass, to transfer from לעבור ממדרגה למדרגה, to transfer from level to level, to transform from לעבור, to transform from level to level. אז מקום המחשבה העליונה בבחינת אריך אנפין, שורש ומקור הנאצלים. What does it mean לעוברך בבריס הוויה אלוקיך? It means that the tachton ascends as much as he could, meaning that the consciousness of human is ascending from level to level to level until the highest divine thought, which means the Arech Anpin, which means those lights that are the shoresh, the source and the root, the root and the source of the Netzalim, of the emanated worlds. So in other words, man goes up to the utmost of how much can he and his consciousness and his selflessness and alignment with God can ascend. It can ascend to the highest is Arich. That's the shoresh of the Netzalim, as we learned before. These are the lights that come from Atik that are designated for the Netzalim, for the worlds. This is how much the Jewish soul can reach, how much soul consciousness can reach, how high. It's like Moshe Rabbeinu ascending on the mount. Then the pasuk says, this is half of the pasuk, le'ovrecha bevris havaya elokecha. Then the second part of the pasuk says, uliyos lecha le'elokim. להיות לך לאלוקים means היינו שאור אינסוף ברוך הוא השפיל את עצמו כביכול בבחינת עתיק. It's how אור אינסוף, the infinite light of Hashem, how Hashem in his infinite expression descended he brought down his expression, brought himself down כביכול now to be expressed in the principle of Atik, to become Keser. ושם הוא החיבור שמאיר בחינס עצמוס אור אינסוף בנשמות ישראל. There is, from this Keser, there is, when God brought Or Ein Sof, became Atik, when godliness now brought itself towards the consciousness of a soul to become now Atik, this is a place where the soul can connect with Or Ein Sof itself. וכמו שכתוב בליקוטי תורה דיבור המסחיל אתם ניצבים, as it says in ליקוטי תורה, בסוף הביור כי כארץ תוציא שמחה. However, אמנם, זהו דווקא כאשר השפיל את עצמו כביכול בבחינס עתיק. This is not possible in a direct way to connect with Or Ein Sof. It's only when God comes down on Har Sinai, meaning how God lowers himself, so to speak, in a manner of Atik. והיינו שלהיות שעל ידי בחינס ירידס אור אין סוף בבחינס Atik, through the descent of Or Ein Sof in a manner of Atik, אם יוסו בחינס העתקס המהוס, even though this is העתקת המהוס, the Rebbe goes back to also to explain how Keser is a ממוצע, even though Atik is only a copy of the Mahus, or if you learn the Atik in the manners of copying, so Atik is only a copy of the original, or you can say that Ha'atakat Mahus means Ne'etak, Mahus is still higher than the worlds and Netzalim, Mikol Makem Areu Na'asa B'chinas Memutza. Nevertheless, it becomes now a bridge. It becomes an intermediary. יכול להיות על ידי זה בחינס איסחברוס דאור אין סוף בנשמות ישראל. Through this there can be an ischabrus of Or Ein Sof with neshamos Israel. And the Rebbe will continue to explain it. Meaning that when it comes to the way Atmos relates to worlds, either it is Ha'ara, that's Memale, and can be perceived, or it remains in the manner of Ein Sof, Sovev, and therefore not revealed. When it comes to Neshamos Israel, there is another way to connect, when Neshamos Israel can consciously reach their source, and Or Ein Sof can descend to become Atik. Now there can be a third type of a chibur, that the entire Or Ein Sof itself is coming down to Neshamos Israel, and they can contain Or Ein Sof, and it will be revealed. This is the Yichud HaSovev B'Memale. And that's done through Torah mitzvahs. And other things that we'll talk about, like tshuva.
Bnei Yisrael have been doing this through all the generations.
Yes. We are still going up on Har Sinai. Also, follow Moshe's path, yes, of refinement.
What's going to change when Mashiach comes?
That will be all refined and done. And therefore we can contain Atmos, no lights from Atmos itself, and will be revealed.
Hannah, I think it will be the derech eretz. Right now, there's still a lot of work involved in being able to have this kind of consciousness. When Mashiach will come, this is how we're going to live our day to day.
Yes.